Germany's new Chancellor Friedrich Merz did not hold back in his acceptance speech over this weekend in his condemnation of Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and J.D. Vance and the American government under those individuals. There were elections held in Germany. Musk, Trump, J.D. Vance, and the MAGA movement in America were supporting the German neo-Nazi party known as the AfD, which was also aligned with Russia. The AfD did worse than what they were expected to do in some initial polling. They came in second. The CDU-CSU came in first. They are going to be able to form a government forthwith. And over here, the new chancellor, which is the leader in Germany, Friedrich Merz, did not hold back. He lumped Donald Trump, Musk, J.D. Vance together with enemies like Vladimir Putin and Russia. He talked about the election interference, the malicious and wanton interference that was engaged in by Trump, Musk, J.D. Vance, and other MAGAs in America, similar to what Putin was doing. Chancellor Merz also is providing a very strong defense of Ukraine and also spoke about a strong Europe. Let me show you this part of Chancellor Merz's acceptance speech where he called out Donald Trump, Musk, and Vance and compared them to Putin. Play this clip.
The absolute priority from my point of view is that the Europeans communicate and are united among themselves. Currently, the larger part of European politics without Germany. It has, of course, something to do with the election campaign and also now this interim phase. But I am in close communication with many prime ministers, heads of state and government leaders of the European Union. And for me, the absolute priority will be to strengthen Europe as quickly as possible so that we step by step also truly achieve independence from the USA. I would not have believed that I would have to say something like this on a TV program. But at the latest, after last week's statements by Donald Trump, it's clear that the Americans, at least this part of the American government, are largely indifferent to Europe's fate. I am very curious about how we will approach the NATO summit at the end of June. Head towards June, whether we will still be talking about NATO in its current state, or if we need to establish independent European defense capabilities much more quickly. So that has absolute priority for me. And I have absolutely no illusions about what is happening from America. Look at what Mr. Elon Musk has done recently in terms of interventions in the German elections. That is an unprecedented event. So the interventions from Washington were no less dramatic and drastic and ultimately brazen than the interventions we had from Moscow. Still seen. So we are under such massive pressure from two sides that my absolute priority now truly is to establish unity in Europe.
Now, in this next clip, Chancellor Merz talks about a united Europe that can no longer rely on the United States. He talks about his role leading Germany, a strong Germany that no longer has the United States as an ally or a friend. And Chancellor Merz continued to reiterate as well that he doesn't know what's even going to happen in June when there's supposed to be a NATO summit, because it clearly seems that Donald Trump, Musk, and J.D. Vance are pulling the United States out of NATO such that there needs to be a new European Common Defense Alliance. Play this clip.
We, the CDU and the CSU, the Union, we won this federal election in 2025. Thank you very much for the trust you have placed in us and in me personally. I am aware of the responsibility. I am also aware of the magnitude of the task that now lies ahead of us. I approach this with the utmost respect, and I know it will not be easy. We led a very tough election campaign. This campaign was nevertheless very necessary, including the debate on the important and major issues of our country, such as economic policy, migration, foreign and security policy, and internal security. But now we will talk with each other. And above all, it is about re-establishing a capable government in Germany as quickly as possible. The world out there is not waiting for us, and it is not waiting for lengthy coalition talks and negotiations either. We must quickly become capable of taking action again, so that we can do the right thing domestically, be present in Europe, and be noticed in the world. Germany will be reliably governed again, and that is what the Union stands for. That is what we stand for and what I personally stand for.
Folks, we are watching historic developments rapidly progress with new security arrangements where America, under the Donald Trump, Elon Musk, J.D. Vance fascist regime, is being isolated and now just pushed out, rightfully so, by Europe, also by other countries like Canada, Mexico, and elsewhere, as Donald Trump tries to create alliances with Vladimir Putin, which most Americans don't want at all. Embarrassingly, Donald Trump does not know anything about German politics because Donald Trump tried to act like this was a victory for him, even though he supported the AfD, the neo-Nazi party in Germany, because Donald Trump was like, look, everybody, the Conservative Party in Germany won, everybody. That's because of me, the CDU, CSU, the conservatives, everybody, they won. It's like us. Absolutely not. To be clear, the CDU, CSU is probably much closer to being like the Democrats in the United States of America. And Donald Trump, again, was supporting the opposite party, the Putin party, which did not win. But Donald Trump wrote the following: looks like the Conservative Party in Germany has won the very big and highly anticipated election. Much like the USA, the people of Germany got tired of the no common sense agenda, especially on energy and immigration, that has prevailed for so many years. This is a great day for Germany and for the United States of America under the leadership of a gentleman named Donald J. Trump. Congratulations to all, many more victories to follow. And again, it just shows you that not only is Donald Trump just dangerous, he is a complete and total idiot by claiming that as a victory. You clearly heard Chancellor Merz, or future Chancellor Merz, speech there, which was condemning Donald Trump. And also in terms of like energy policy, for example, the policies embraced by the CDU, CSU would be more analogous to all of the things that our ridiculous MAGA parties here in America would call the Green New Deal scam or whatever it is. Now, Europe is uniting right now, and we're seeing people stand up to Donald Trump. For example, here's French President Emmanuel Macron saying that, look, Ukraine has had legitimate elections, and all of Donald Trump's statements about Zelensky not being legitimate is Putin propaganda and false. Play this clip.
I mean, we shouldn't buy into the arguments I hear everywhere. The Ukrainian president was elected through free elections in Ukraine. In fact, he wasn't the favorite at all. I remember it like it was yesterday. And so he's a president elected in a free system. This is not the case for Vladimir Putin, who kills his opponents and has been manipulating these elections for a long time. Unfortunately, this is not the case in too many countries in the world. He then had to enact, because it was war in his country, martial law. Do you think he can organize presidential or legislative elections in a country where several million Ukrainian men and women have fled for their safety? In a country where he has mobilized several million others who are on the front lines, where there are 1,000 dead and injured per day, and where there is a whole strip of its territory that is conquered by Russia? What are we talking about? Do you think that in the same situation we would have fun holding elections? He cannot hold elections. So if we want free elections in Ukraine, there needs to be a lasting peace in Ukraine. That's the prerequisite. Anyone who acts before that is manipulating. And what is the plan of some? I know it very well. A ceasefire that will not be respected. Quickly, elections to manipulate them. It's not a good idea. So yes, President Zelensky is legitimate, and we wish for more democracy in Ukraine over time, thanks to lasting peace. And President Zelensky wants democracy in Ukraine too, since he's a product of it. If the system had been manipulated he would never have been elected president himself.
While all of this is taking place, the Russian propaganda shows, Russian state regime media is loving all of this. Here is a clip from Russian state TV praising Donald Trump and Musk and JD Vance for being, quote, in total alignment with Putin. Let's play it.
Trump отвечает на вопросы по поводу пресс-конференции.
When Trump is answering questions about the press conference, I think it is not a coincidence that many of the narratives that are being voiced largely materialized after their conversation.
Но фразы, которые он дает,
The phrases he is saying are so deep and so correct. They are in total alignment with the way we see things.
Going from Germany to France and now to the UK, the UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, he gave a speech saying that Ukraine must be at the table for any talks on its future following the US-Russian alliance. Play this clip.
Peace only comes through strength. Nobody wants the bloodshed to continue. Nobody, least of all the Ukrainians. But after everything that they have suffered, after everything that they have fought for, there can be no discussion about Ukraine without Ukraine, and the people of Ukraine must have a long-term secure future. Instability in Europe always washes up on our shores, and this is a generational moment. I've been saying for some time that we Europeans, including the United Kingdom, have to do more for our defence and security. The US is right about that. In this new era, we can't cling on to the comforts of the past. It's time to take responsibility for our security, our continent. And I'm clear that Britain will take a leading responsibility. We have to be ready to play our role if a force is required in Ukraine once a peace agreement is reached. And we have to be ready to reshape our economy with industrial policy, to stand up for Ukraine, to stand up for Europe, but most of all, to stand up for our security, because Ukraine is vital to us.
And while this is taking place, the former Fox News host turned Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, was asked on Fox shows on Sunday, is it fair to say, can you just admit that Russia attacked unprovoked into Ukraine, to which Hegseth refused to call Russia the aggressor? Play this clip.
Zelensky should come to the table because this economic partnership is an important thing for the future of his country, and we hope that he will very soon.
But fair to say, Russia attacked unprovoked into Ukraine 3 years ago tomorrow.
Fair to say it's a very complicated situation.
Okay, we'll leave it there.
And everybody in the Trump authoritarian regime now refuses to call Russia the aggressor. Here is another U.S. special envoy to the Middle East right here, Envoy Witkoff. And here he is asked a basic question, and he says, the war didn't have to happen. It was provoked. It doesn't necessarily mean it was provoked by Russia. Here, play this clip.
That the war, irrespective of who started it, needs to end. Too many people's lives have been expunged as a result of it, and it just doesn't make sense to the president. He wants to be the peacemaking president, peace through strength, and I don't blame him. I actually concur right down the line with his thought process around this. That's one. Two, that the war didn't need to happen. It was provoked. It doesn't necessarily mean it was provoked by the Russians. There were all kinds of conversations back then about Ukraine joining NATO. The president has spoken about this. That didn't need to happen. It basically became a threat to the Russians. And so we have to deal with that fact. And those are real facts on the ground here. But be that as it may, the Russians have indicated that they are responsive to an end to this.
Yeah, and as Sir William Browder says, this guy was also talking about his friendship with Putin after spending 3.5 hours with him at the Kremlin. He really should read Red Notice and learn about what happened to Sergei Magnitsky and me. Another comment right here from Anders Aslund says, the Trump administration and Musk are now the leading liars in the world, possibly even worse than Putin. Ukraine did not provoke Russia's assault. Russia attacked Ukraine for no reason. There was no discussion about Ukraine joining NATO. Ukraine suffered from neutrality. By the way, here's Pete Hegseth again saying that the firing of top military lawyers and top military brass was necessary to make sure that there don't exist roadblocks to anything that's about to happen? What the hell here, play it.
Branches. For people who may not know, I mean, they give advice to the military about what is lawful and what isn't. Not surprisingly, there's been some backlash to those who are worried about their removal. One Georgetown law professor says this: Trump also firing the Army, Navy, and Air Force JAGs. In some ways, that's even more chilling than firing the 4 stars. It's what you do when you're planning to break the law. You get rid of any lawyers who might try to slow you down. Your response to her?
Yeah, I don't know who Rosa is and what her hyperbole is all about. Ultimately, we want lawyers who give sound constitutional advice and don't exist to attempt to be roadblocks to anything that happens in their spots. What we know about these TJAGs, they're called TJAGs inside the military. Traditionally, they've been elected by each other or chosen by each other, which is exactly how it works often with the chairman as well. Small group of insulated officers who perpetuate the status quo. Well, guess what? Status quo hasn't worked very well at the Pentagon. It's time for fresh blood. So we're going to open.
Then you had Donald Trump's Treasury Secretary talking like a mobster. Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, is talking about how he's really just doing his best with Donald and Elon to try to extort Ukraine for their rare earth minerals. Play the clip.
A partnership between Ukraine and the U.S. that involves strategic minerals, energy, and state-owned enterprises, where we set up a partnership and we are only looking forward. It is a win-win. President Trump, they created this idea himself. It is a win-win. We make money if the Ukrainian people make money, and I believe that with the United States of America, our know-how, our businesses willing to come in and provide capital, that we can accelerate the Ukrainian growth trajectory and take in substantial monies for the U.S. taxpayers and get the Ukrainian economy on a great growth trajectory.
And by the way, Russia loves all of this, as Julia Davis, who monitors all things Russia propaganda, give her a shout out. She does great work. She goes, Trump and his team are gladly spreading Russian propaganda, and Moscow is showcasing their subservience. Why blame Russia for its genocidal expansionist invasion when you can blame NATO? And that's what Russia's showing that the Trump administration's doing, and playing the Trump clips over and over again. Here's the special envoy Witkoff again, talking about his great discussions with Putin. Let's play it.
The meeting ended, I looked at my watch, and it was close to 3.5 hours that we were in there. And hopefully that suggests that a lot of good things got accomplished. I think that President Trump believes, and I believe because he believes it, that trust building begins with good, proper communication. And we just had a great discussion, me and President Putin, and now it will be up to President Putin and President Trump to work something out, and I think they're going to be successful.
Did you have an intelligence officer or anyone else with you? That's an extraordinary amount of FaceTime with Putin.
It was just me.
It was just you.
And then finally here is Democratic Congress member Jim Himes, who I think's been stepping up a lot lately. And he says when you watch the language of Trump and Bessent and Musk and Vance and all of these MAGAs, it's like watching a bad episode of The Sopranos with their shakedown. Oh, give us your rare earth minerals or else. Here, play this clip.
U.S. have some kind of guarantee or return on the billions of taxpayer dollars that have flowed into that conflict?
Well, Shannon, I have two problems with that concept. One, it just looks like an episode of The Sopranos, right? Give us your minerals or we're not going to help you fight a bloody butcher. I mean, is this really what we want the greatest country in history to be known for like, some mafia thing? Look, we've always stood with the good guys. We stood with Churchill against Hitler in World War I. We stood with the good guys. Even when we've gotten it wrong in Vietnam, we were standing with the good guys against the Viet Cong. In Iraq, we were going after Saddam Hussein. Now this president is standing siding with the bad guy. He's saying Zelensky is the problem when Zelensky, with very few resources, is trying to stand up for democracy against a totalitarian butcher. What really worries me, Shannon, though, is what do you think President Xi is thinking? Because President Xi wakes up every single morning thinking, is today the day I go into Taiwan?
One of the things also that we've been reporting on that's worth mentioning as well is that there have been lots of credible reports that the Trump administration, Musk and others, have been threatening Ukraine to shut off their Starlink connection, even though it's already been fully paid for by Poland. The Polish government has fully paid for Ukraine's Starlink, but nonetheless, you have the Trump administration still threatening that Elon Musk will shut off their Starlink if they don't submit and give America all of its rare earth materials. Like, seriously, what the hell is going on here, folks? Been seeing lots of polling lately as well showing how unpopular Donald Trump's attempted alliance with Putin is here in America. It's a shameful thing. It's embarrassing to be an American while Trump is sucking up to Putin like this and making America subservient to Russia, helping the Russian stock market soar while he crushes the American markets. This is a pathetic authoritarian regime we have here in the United States. Let's not mince words when we call it out. And again, powerful words there. Talk about not mincing words from Germany's new Chancellor, Friedrich Merz. Let me know what you think. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 5 million.
Can't get enough Meidas? Check out the Meidas Plus Substack for ad-free articles, reports, podcasts, daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, and more. Sign up for free now at MeidasPlus.com.